It's me, Space Tomato. And we're here for another episode of the Launch Sequence Podcast, episode 93. And my guest today, has got the laughs.
Oh my God.
Just laughing. Welcome to the show, Starrstreams. Thank you for joining me today. It's going to be a comedy episode, apparently.
Oh my God, I'm sorry.
No, you're good. How you doing?
I'm great. Thank you. Sorry about that. I found that really funny and I don't know why. You're so professional.
Yeah.
You're like doing the whole countdown and everything, like a proper, launch
And then
sequence.
you just come in and you're like, hello.
And ruin it.
Hello there, General Kenobi. No, it's fun. It's fun to start out in different ways. Today we start out with a little bit more excitement.
Yeah.
So today I've got my friend Starrstreams on, does some YouTube, does some content creation, does a lot of cool stuff, and we've had a talk last year, actually. I think it was like first half of last year. We had a good talk, just a general sort of conversation. But today I wanted to jump more into gameplay coming to Star Citizen, specifically looking at the new locations that they're working on, which they've done in the past, but now it's a little bit different. And there's a lot of opportunities here. So I wanted to have Starrstreams come on and talk about those opportunities. Thanks for joining me today, though.
Thank you for inviting me onto your amazing podcast. And sorry about my camera. It's a bit weird.
Camera looks great. For those of you who are listening on the audio version, just imagine in your mind, the camera looks great, and we'll move on with it.
Yeah.
No, really, your camera does look fine, though. Occasionally, the internet makes it a little blurry, but I'll watch out for the rainbow puke.
Oh, that might be a good thing, though. Blur me a bit.
Yeah. Well, no, we don't want blur. We want that crystal clear. We want to see every detail, every single hair.
Oh no.
So, Starrstreams, tell us a little bit about the content you make, getting into Star Citizen, where you've come from, and how you got here.
Well, I am an industrialist on Star Citizen, so I love all of those types of game loops. So we're talking about salvage, we're talking about mining, we're talking about other mining. just generally like that. I'm not a PvPer as such, so anything that's not PvP essentially.
Okay.
Bit of trade maybe here and
And
there.
how long have you been playing?
Oh, coming on to about 3 years now. Pretty much solid throughout that 3 years as well. I haven't really dipped out of it since I started, so yeah. I'm not a dipper. There's lots of dippers.
When you found Star Citizen, were you already making content, or was Star Citizen a catalyst in that process?
No, I was already making content on Survive and Thrive, so it's like survival games and things like that. So Stranded Deep and stuff like that. And then I got into I've always liked sci-fi and space and stuff. So I discovered Elite Dangerous, and then from there I leapfrogged to Star Citizen.
Elite Dangerous was good fun. I enjoyed Elite Dangerous for like a good 6 months, but I really needed to get out of my ship. That was the thing that that took me away from it. I was like, I can't just sit here I've never played a game where I couldn't walk around. That's always been just like part of the games I played. I was a big console gamer, so that was disappointing. I'm glad they added it to it now, but it does sound like that's been a troublesome addition for them.
It's not the best thing that's happened to a game ever, to be fair.
Yeah.
At least they're trying. At least they're trying.
Yeah, they are, and I hope they continue. It's looking iffy, but I do hope that Star Citizen needs competition, right? Like, and people will say Starfield is competition, but Starfield's a single-player game. Like, Star Citizen needs other space games that are multiplayer to keep pushing it, to try new things and keep progressing. So I do hope Elite Dangerous sticks around and does a good job. Yeah,
that can only be a good thing for the genre in general, and we need to see more space games, like top level space games being considered and pushed, and
all the space. Be great. What are you playing these days? Are you playing Star Citizen mostly? Diversifying?
Star Citizen. Oh my God, I'm going through Red Dead Redemption 2 at the moment. The whole campaign of Red Dead Redemption 2. That game is a masterpiece. Absolute masterpiece, and it's a crime that Rockstar aren't giving it more love. To be honest, they're focusing so much on GTA, which I guess is the cash cow. But what a great game! You can lose yourself in the immersion, which is what I want from Star Citizen, by the way.
Yeah,
but it's just that's what I love the most about it. It's just so great. You can just, if you want, you can just sit in the middle of a field and groom your horse, and like that's the game, isn't it? And then go hunting for like wild berries and like that the game is not designed for that, but that's just one day you just decide I'm going to go and find all the different types of berries in this field.
Yeah.
Great gameplay, you know.
I am
That's what I want.
sadly I never played the game actually. I've seen a lot of it and I know it is an amazing game, but I kind of got lost when they didn't bring it to PC immediately. I I was waiting for it to come to PC and like I
Yeah,
think I held out for like 8 months and I just was too excited. I was like I want to see this game, so I started watching it on YouTube. And whenever I watch a game get played through, it does take away some of my interest in playing it myself. So I just never got around to it after that, with Star Citizen starting to get more playable around the same time. But I've
yeah.
heard really good things.
I would highly recommend it. I think it's a beautiful, brilliant game, and it is immersive, and you end up getting sucked into the story. The other game I've looked at recently, which I was considering doing, is I can't remember what it's called now. Oh, Metro Exodus, which
Ooh,
people have been raving about.
yeah.
But
I
yeah, you like that?
I actually just
You
started
like
that one.
you played it? Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, yeah. So it's on sale at the moment. So I thought, oh, I'll grab that one. Oh, also the price point, I guess, on Red Dead, it was like 50 something pounds when it first came out, which is crazy, crazy money. But I guess that's the price of games these days, right?
I mean, it's
But,
higher now. They
well,
they were
yeah,
starting at
yeah.
60 back then. Now it's all $70 starting price for
Oh
those
man.
bigger games. Yeah. I mean,
But I guess you can sink many, many hours into these modern games, whereas before it was like 3 or 4 hours gameplay.
well,
But
the
like
thing is,
now
I'm
it's
I'm
hours and hours and
fine
hours.
with I'm fine with paying a lot of money for a game. I wish they would stick to one, maybe two ways of monetizing it, you know? Like if you're going to charge full price for the game at $70, then I would like to see less of the oh, you got to pay for a battle pass to get all the content kind of stuff, where
Oh
I mean,
yeah,
I'd be
right,
willing to
yeah.
pay, like if you told me there was a game that sells for $60 and there's like a battle pass and everything and they said, "Yes, no matter what, we have to do the battle pass. We have to do all of this stuff in order to fund the game." I'd be like, "Okay, charge me $30 more and I'll pay that up front and not have to deal with that stuff." But
Are
um
we going to get a battle pass for Star Citizen?
oh my gosh. I mean,
Can you imagine?
aren't we playing the ultimate battle pass with ships? It's the ship battle pass, and we've got a new season every year for the last 6 years.
Crazy. It's crazy. Yeah. Well,
That
I'm
being,
sure we're going to go into detail on this, but I'm yeah. Star Citizen's an interesting beast.
it is. It's a hard one to consider with almost every aspect because of the way that it's been built and funded. Speaking of Star Citizen, though, let's dive into the
Let's move.
topic for the day. So you said that you are an industrial player, right? What would you say are like the three main things that you do in the game? Like if you jump into the game a fresh week and you want to do something, do you go through a list of possibilities or is there just kind of something that you choose every time?
Rock mining is my favorite thing in the world. So that will always be number one if it works, which is yeah. And yeah, I really enjoy those little delivery missions with the mule. There's something about the mule that's really fun. Where you pick up the packages, put them on the mule, drive your mule into your ship. I know it's a long. You might as well just use a Pisces and just throw it straight in the Pisces. But there's something about using a mule. What's the purpose of the mule, by the way? At the moment, is it got
What you're
apart from the
saying is
forklift?
you carry some boxes.
Well,
That's basically it.
I, maybe it's future proofing for something, but
Yeah,
I love
yeah.
the mule though. It's
Well,
fun.
so that I think that's actually a pretty good lead into like the first major locations that we're looking at today. Like I said, so we're
Mhm.
talking about the combination of gameplay and these locations. And I think actually a good use for the mule would be something like these new underground bunkers or these underground facilities we're seeing, which have clearly a lot of space to walk around, a lot of distance to go, and obviously nowhere to fly a ship. I think that is somewhere where something like a mule would be more useful.
Yeah. You're just looking for that. You're just looking for that loop with cargo where you've got physicalized cargo sat on a bay somewhere. You drive up with a forklift, pick it up, scoop it across, put it into your cargo, it's a hauler, whatever it may be,
Yeah.
fly out, go somewhere else, take the cargo out with a mule or whatever. You know,
And
that's what you're looking for. We're not quite there, but it's the early stages, I suppose, isn't it?
yeah, because the challenge is like they have to make it so that there is enough space in between wherever that box is and your ship that you can't just land the ship right next to it and walk in and walk out.
Hmm. How are they planning on stacking cargo in ships with another vehicle? How is that actually working? Because you've got the clipping into place, haven't you?
Yeah.
But unless the mule, I'm just assuming the mule is one of them. But there's got to be another. There's got to be something else that allows you to just lift things up and put them on top.
Here's what I want to see. I want
Go
to
on.
see a variant of the rock with, instead of a mining tool, a tractor beam on it. I think that would be really nice for
Oh
loading ships, like how you're
yeah,
saying.
that would be cool.
Yeah.
That would be cool. Well, you could use the rock and just switch out the head, but I guess it's a mining arm, so you'd have to switch out the entire arm.
Maybe, actually, that's a good point. It could just be a utility mount. Because we know there are
Yeah.
utility mounts on some of the ships where they've specifically said, like, yeah, this could be a tractor beam, but you could also put other things on this.
Right,
I
like
think-
a pyro tool. But I've also I did a video recently about what I want to see in rock mining, and one of the things that I talked about was switching out the heads on the mining arm for the rock for different types of minerals.
Yeah.
And it would sort of lead into that where you just switch things out and multi-tool it. You know, it'll be pretty cool. I'd like that, especially it might actually make the Rock DS useful. Wouldn't it?
The Rock DS. We're not gonna.
Hate it.
Let's
Hate
avoid that one today. That was
Okay.
such a weird one.
Yeah.
Okay, but you said you like the rock mining, you like
Yeah.
the delivery missions.
Yeah.
Give me a third option.
I want to say salvage, but it's quite skin thin in terms of gameplay at the moment, isn't it? I mean, you're literally peeling. But once I'm guessing they're bringing multi-layers in. Once they start bringing those multi-layers in, where you can salvage components potentially, then
Yeah.
that's when it'll pique my interest. I think.
Yeah, you get on board.
Otherwise, it's
take
just
the
paint
components
stripping,
out.
isn't it?
Yeah. So, okay. So salvaging, mining, box delivery missions, all things that I think could be applied to the different locations we've been hearing about. With the underground facilities that we've seen specifically, how do you see them possibly working, say, mining into these locations? I think they've talked about like caves underneath the facilities, but like, what would you want to see them do with that? Would you want to see you have to go into the caves and bring bring the goods out to that facility, or take it all the way out to a ship and fly it somewhere else? Like, what's your idea of a good mining loop when it comes to that location?
The best possible mining loop for me would be around gems, and it would be the ability to convoy grey cat rocks down into the mines, fill them up, bring them back up, and have a transportation ship ready to load and then to go off, and then to sell at whatever location is the best price at that day. And yeah, we're talking about fluid kind of commodity market, which is not a thing right now, but that would be because the majority of the caves that are in the game right now are just not wide enough, or they're awkward, or they don't have a stable floor. So getting a rock in, you can do it with a bit of work, but the amount of times I get a grey cat rock stuck in a cave is just ridiculous. And we need bigger, wider mines, and having these bigger, wider facilities might actually encourage that. So my ultimate gaming loop, to answer your question, is org style multi-crew mining, where you're putting multiple grey cats down, you're mining, and you're bringing them up in a convoy situation, like a to and fro, filling up a ship ready to go, and off it goes. And that would be amazing. And then you can prep vehicles pre-mining at these underground facilities. So you can actually go in and say, right, what do I need? How do I need to prep this vehicle to do what I need to do today? So you look at the mining arm and you switch out the mining arm for whatever you need. You maybe put a spare in the back or something, or carry a spare in the ship. And then you have, how many rocks are we going to need today? How many this and that, just planning ahead, a bit of planning before you mine,
That's cool, actually. So like the idea of, instead of just going there for a single mission, spending like your whole game session down there, just doing sandbox gameplay down there under UGF, just like it was any other cave. This is just like a more industrial cave owned by a company. They give you a lease and you can go down there and start mining.
Right.
That would
and you can take missions as well, where Port Olisar needs 200 Hadanite gems immediately, and they'll pay us a fixed rate or whatever that's pretty competitive compared to what you would get anyway. it's almost guaranteed, it's locked in at that price. Whereas if we've got a fluid market that's moving up and down, you might not necessarily guarantee that price. So you want to take a mission to lock that price in, but it's a risk because they might then pay more if you don't lock the price in, or they might pay less.
Right. Yeah. Changing over time, that would be cool. We've already seen that they have timers on the missions for when they expire, so that'd be cool to like tie it in with that sort of lore. I would love to see kind of building off of that. I'd love to see them introduce NPCs into that, so you could be, instead of doing the mining and then taking it up to a ship and flying it out somewhere, you could just be the one who does the mining, and then the NPCs, you'll drive back into that sort of main area, and NPCs will take it and load it wherever. And that could be another mission for somebody to actually come and pick that up and transport it, like a courier mission. But it spawned because you already gave that cargo into the base.
I don't trust NPCs to take my gems. They'd glitch it into a wall, wouldn't they?
Yeah, but at least
they'd lose my gems.
You got paid.
Yeah,
you got paid.
Right, as long as I get the money first, and then the NPCs can do their thing.
They'll get reprimanded. They'll get taken back to Grey Box.
I mean, they're just all stood on benches in Area 18 right now, so I don't know whether I trust them with my highly prized gems. But I will say, I will say the idea is having that convoy of going in and out of caves and stuff will also encourage org gameplay, because you're going to need security, because you're dealing with a high volume of gems and high volume of value. So you're going to need security, so you can have a couple of people above you scanning the perimeters in their ships, or you're going to have a hauler, driver, flyer, whatever you want to pilot, who's going to need an escort. So this is great group activity gameplay. And if people don't like mining, that's fine. They could be security. If they don't like security, they can be the pilot. They could do the trade side of it. It's great. Perfect. That's my perfect game loop.
So let's talk about that idea of doing multiple types of gameplay in the same place. Let's say like this was a underground facility that was only for mining, like you said. Would you still expect to say somebody be able to come there and get a job for FPS security or something?
Oh yeah, for sure. Why not? I mean, miners will need to be secure in security, especially with piracy and stuff like that. I think you need it. I think people can come. Maybe it could well be that you can set your own contracts and say we need a security guard, or we need someone in a gladius to hover above us as we mine or something. I don't know. But it'll be great if we could set our own contracts and people can respond. And then the other, without going too far right on this, I'd love to see like a rating system, like based on how people perform, people rate you, and then you have like an overall rating so you know who to trust. If someone's got like 58 votes against them and they've got a 1 out of 5 rating, you're not going to employ them, are you?
They got 58 votes against them.
Like 1 rating. You'll be like, yeah, I'm not going to employ you. You're going to salve it, do something dodgy. But if they've got a 5 or 4 out of 5 rating, then you can employ them. I like the idea of employing someone and giving them a set fee and negotiating a contract yourself. I'm getting way ahead of myself here now.
No, I agree with you there. Like being able to assign missions, and I'm constantly wondering how they're going to handle that, because it could be as freeform as we're talking about. You could say it could be linked to literally just a player. You could mine something from a cave, right? Let's say, forget underground facilities. You go to a cave like you would normally do rock mining now. You come out of that cave, you create what we call a beacon right now, a mission, and say, come to this spot, pick up these 5 boxes and sell them. Like, could we organize all of the parameters of that mission so that that person comes to you, picks up the stuff, does what they're supposed to, and gets it to the station and sells it? Or would it have to be like, you do the mining in a UGF, the underground facility, and then you take it and turn it into that UGF, and that's what creates the mission for the player? I constantly wonder, like, how much flexibility will there be in that process?
Yeah, hopefully the more the better, where you can customize would be awesome, but that would also be I would imagine, quite difficult to do.
Yeah.
And maybe, I mean, we yeah, they can't do the basics at the moment, let alone those more complex things. But I kind of feel like those facilities are really, they're really exciting, because they will tie into mining. I'm sure they have to if they're underground and stuff like that. They're going to tie into that.
Yeah.
And it's interesting to see where they plan to go with them, and where they're putting them. But
Yeah, it was it is interesting to see how much they're building things into that make them look kind of parallel to like cities or space stations. It almost feels like we're gonna get refining based UGFs, we're gonna get cargo based UGFs, kind of like the space stations are, and even like maybe refueling ones. Like
hmm,
actually, refueling is a good example of something that would probably use that sort of a mission system, because we're gonna have to at some point say, "Hey, I'm stuck out in space. Come refuel me." That's like a basic form of mission giving, right?
we're gonna have a space rat situation on our hands otherwise. But yeah, no, totally. And I mean, it makes sense that you have a refueling station underground with loads of tanks and storage facilities and stuff like that. So you literally come in, you can run a base of operations from there and go and help other people and stuff like that. It's
Yeah.
it's pretty cool. It's a definite cool alternative to having space stations.
Yeah. I really hope someday, years and years from now, when we have dynamic server meshing, they can make those underground facilities their own server so that they
Years from
can
now.
just pump NPCs and stuff into there. And like
Yeah.
you actually, like you said, would be able to spend a whole session down there mining, trading, getting missions from people and stuff like that.
Yeah.
That's going a little crazy, but
It
like
is.
I really like the
Love
idea
it.
of what you said. Just going down into the mines. Like, hey, this company owns mines. There's a huge deposit on the planet. You could go to that cave that's a couple kilometers off that's linked to the same system, or you could
Yeah.
go with the protection of this UGF.
Yeah. Yeah. But it's going to hurt your profit.
Yeah, yeah, because they're going to
You
take
know,
some of that.
they're going to take a
That is
percentage.
that's very cool. What do you think of? Because we talked about like the lower levels underground stuff that they've shown, but they actually showed lobbies and like corporate looking kind of areas on top. And it feels almost like they're just small cities in there. Like it's so much space. They've got their hangars and their landing pads and stuff.
Yeah.
How do you think they could use that upper area?
I mean, the views are amazing from the windows, aren't they? You look out at it's
Classic
great
Star
stuff.
Citizen.
I
Good
know it's
views.
beautiful views.
Yeah.
Yeah, very, very Area 18 or whatever. But I don't know. It's gonna have to make. I'd like to see some social stuff, but I bet they do like bars and stuff like that because they've got to try and bring people together. It's all about bringing people together, isn't it? In these sort
Yeah.
of places. But it's going to be interesting. I would imagine there'll be shops and stuff like that, like places to buy stuff. I would probably see restaurants there or something. If it's going to be a city, maybe even it's going to be Habs as well.
Well, it would be interesting to see if they combined it with building interiors.
Mm. Well,
Not
yeah,
not sure how
it's
that would
going to be.
go, but
No, I think they should be offices or well, mind you, no one works in an office anymore, do they? It's so
everybody's working from
2019.
home in 2950.
Exactly. Yeah, I don't know, to be honest. I haven't seen too much of this, just this video that they've dropped
Yeah,
recently.
yeah.
But it's going to be very interesting. It's something different to what they already have. I think that's pretty important, though.
Yeah,
That's how they.
the old facilities in comparison are tiny, almost useless. I mean, it's like a 2 or 3 room setup, almost all looking the same, not much variety. Even like, you remember the turrets, the stationary turrets they put outside the underground facilities?
Right? Yeah, yeah.
Have you ever used one?
No.
Yeah.
I've just thought of a game loop they can use for those new buildings. That's the idea.
Okay.
Hacking computer terminal in an office. So you go through the office, there'll be security walking around, walking into the walls or whatever they do. And then you can sort of stealth your way through to get to a big computer terminal, and then you can hack the computer terminal.
Sounds like that Microtech mission from SitCon 2019. Was that 2019? I think it was in CitizenCon when they did the whole Microtech sneak in and hack, get some stuff, and then get out. Did you see that one?
No.
No? Oh yeah,
No.
that was one of those things that people will kind of quote as, "Hey, you showed this at CitizenCon. It was a cool mission. It had all this stuff in it, and we still don't have it." That would be a good spot for them to start testing that out, though. You're right. Hacking,
But if
getting in there.
you're gonna do this, you go massive on it. Right? You don't do little stupid things. You take a contract, it's worth 5 million, right? Or something like that. But it's nearly impossible. And it needs like 48 people to succeed. I don't know, something like that.
Just
It
bringing
needs
an Idris in there.
120 people to succeed.
The whole server's gonna need to help with this mission,
Guys,
please.
come over and do this mission. No, but you need to. It's like amazing. You've got stealth and there's so many guards. It's a little bit like Orison, but like times 10. You know.
Yeah,
And they don't get stuck in walls or elevators. Is that kind of
I do wonder when I'm looking at these. I think the one that they showed in this Inside Star Citizen this week, I think it might have been a medium-sized UGF, but also they did say that they were working on large ones already. So this could be the largest one. But I do wonder when you take one of those, these are big spaces, a lot of hallways, a lot of different areas. How many people? They are not getting into the gameplay aspects of it so far, which is why we're having this podcast, so we could speculate. But I wonder, like, how many people do they expect? Are these 2 to 3 people missions in a squad? Is this like you're bringing in a dropship with Cutlass Steel and like there's like 12 people with you? Like, it'd be nice to get an idea of what kind of size gameplay we can expect from these areas.
I mean, if they're big facilities, they've got to be big gameplay. They've got to be like, I don't know, you've got to put something in there.
They got to be big, but you got to also think like if there's let's say just off the bat, 10 of these around Stanton. If you're talking 8-person missions and somebody is running a mission at each one of those, that's 80 people. It's like the whole server. So it's kind of like how big can you make them? How many players can you make them for? And are you really thinking about the current gameplay, or are these being made in plans for server meshing when there's going to be more people in the area?
Well, they're already clearly doing server meshing kind of plans, aren't they? They're doing the foundation, so they're thinking way ahead.
Yeah.
So it could be something to do with server meshing and thinking about the bigger picture and having these bigger facilities as like a template to then copy paste forward. But I got this awful feeling that they're not going to do anything with them. I got this awful feeling they'll just be big open spaces and they'll be like, you make your own gameplay with it.
Well, that is some of the discourse surrounding them, is that hey, we've seen this before. CIG introduces locations, and then they talk about imagining and thinking about what you could do and all the possibilities of them. Do you feel like this is Cargo Decks 2.0? Were you here when they did Cargo Decks the first time?
Yeah. It could be. Maybe. I still think they're going to leave them empty and hollow and just say to people, if you want to take control of them, take control of them. They're yours. Use them as your hub or whatever. And then, I don't. It's a difficult one. That one, I don't know. It's definitely going to be something to do with industry and industrial side of things, whatever they do. But like you say, it's speculation, isn't it? We just don't know at this point what the future holds for them.
There's definitely like alternate passages, like even in the early white box phase we're at right now, they're already showing like this is a hatch where you might be able to cut in and sneak past everybody. So clearly there's some like espionage, combat sort of stealth gameplay that they're planning for in there, and I would hope that would mean missions.
Oh my god, it could be steal a ship, go in there, steal a ship, get it out. That would be cool, right?
Or steal a 32 SCU cargo crate full of Pico plushies.
Yeah. Oh my god, I would love that. That would be my favorite game loop. I do that. That's my new favorite game loop.
Imagine
it could be go in there. It's got to be something stealth. You could do something stealth. This massive facility. Go in there, stay undercover, loads of guards everywhere, and find this one thing.
They talk about that. Yeah, in the episode yesterday, they talk about how hey, you might need to get into these cargo crates and take something specific that we wanted from in there. I'm just imagining somebody flying away with a caterpillar, blowing up. You just see thousands of Picos raining down from the sky. Mission failed. Beautiful. Or like a GTA, black and white, wasted.
Failed, wasted. Yeah. I've been talking about for the longest time having I'm going somewhere with this. Having a black stone gem or like a black gem that's like worth ridiculous amounts of money, that's super rare. You only see it once every month or whatever. It's just incredibly rare, and it's that like moment when you the gold rush kind of adrenaline vibe thing that you find, rare thing. I'm wondering if you can do something like that and then put it into those facilities. Like you can only sell it at those specific facilities, rather than outposts.
Store it. Holy crap! You know what I didn't think of? We're doing persistent hangars where you can store stuff, but we've only been thinking about those hangars in terms of space stations and cities. But what if they're doing persistent hangars in UGFs as well, and they allow players to store stuff there?
To drive economy,
Yeah, I guess.
or is that
I
too
guess
much?
where I was going with it was like if player storage was there, then people could break in and steal stuff. But that'd be too. I don't think people would like that. Like if you didn't have guaranteed safety for your stuff in those areas, I think that would probably hurt the game more than
Yeah.
help it.
Yeah, it's a bit like those survival games where you build a base, but it's never 100% fully safe.
Right.
And then you're going to get looted anyway. And you're like, oh, okay. Well, there's
Yeah.
no point in building a base then.
I think player
Yeah.
bases might be like that, but these facilities are probably going to be like, no, if you're storing something there, it's good. Either way,
I would like it to feed into the economy. I think if there's a global, I don't want to say global, that's the wrong word. If there's a universal shortage of Quantanium, flash up a message, guys, deliver Quantanium to this location immediately. Otherwise, we're all going to run out of Quantanium and we're all stuck in space.
yeah, I think we'll do that. I think they will definitely be linked to the economy. They'll probably be what they're calling economic nodes that like produces and consumes resources, and that might be just what the cargo gameplay is related to that. Every single one of these places in every system is going to need regular shipments of stuff. So you might go into your mission contract manager, look at courier missions and see like 80 missions you can take because every single facility needs a delivery. And you're just like, okay, I like the one on this planet. I'll deliver to that one. But we'll see if they do that.
We'll see if they do that.
So the underground facilities are cool. They're nice. They're fun. How about
different
building interiors, though? They've been going over that a lot recently, and in my opinion, they're more ambitious than I thought they were going to be. What are your thoughts on that location so far?
Well, I haven't seen too much about that. I think the building interiors. If you just give me a summary as to what your position on it, and then I'll tell you mine because I don't know too much about that.
A little reminder. Well, they did show it on a one of their little like 4.0 special preview episodes of ISC a couple of weeks ago, and it seemed like building interiors were the primary method they want to expand cities. So we've always had cities all the way back in 2018 when Lorville was introduced. We've always had landing zones that were like massive cities, but then a very small explorable area. And we've kind of known they were going to expand, but never really knew how. They've talked a little bit about possibly having unique player housing, but we didn't know how they were going to fit that into these cities. And then they're bringing out building interiors. And my big takeaway from that is that it's not just the fact that the building interiors are changing, but it's adding different types of buildings. So like one of the things we saw was a large complex that hosted multiple hangars that would, in their own words, connect like maybe underground or through passageways or through across bridges to multiple other buildings where you would have offices, you'd have player housing, you'd have the opportunity for missions maybe. And it almost sounded like they were just straight up talking about mini cities or expanding cities out to have these sort of central areas. And I think it's incredibly ambitious. I'm excited to see what they do with it because it does sound sort of like a parallel production to these underground facilities. It's just more of that same gameplay from underground facilities, but in a different environment, in corporate environments, in civilian city-based environments. So I find it interesting for the variety mainly. But what do you get from it?
I mean, there's definite copy paste going on at the moment, particularly like with all the bunkers. Like all the a lot of the buildings are very copy paste. So if they can bring anything to it that's a bit different and unique and quirky, that's got to be a good thing, hasn't it? Really?
Yeah, it does. It's also nice that they're upgrading the buildings because they've realized that they were too small for this initiative. So they're like upgrading the buildings to actually have the space on the inside. Like Lorville, I think, is the first one with 319. Do you think that they always knew they would have to upgrade the buildings and they were just like, we'll just have these here for now as that sort of pre-alpha implementation placeholder? Or do you think they changed their mind and now they're like, oh crap, we got to update things?
No, they've changed their mind.
Yeah?
100%. Yeah, I think they're I mean, you only have to look at 318 patch and how that's panning out to see that they're kind of more reactive than proactive in a lot of stuff. Like,
Well,
oh
I
no,
think
that's broken and that's broken now, so we've got to do this,
I
and that's
think
broken, so we've got to do this.
I think 318 is a different story because that's like technology based, right? As opposed to this is just a design change. Because they did talk about expanding cities before, so they had the
Yeah,
idea of expanding cities, maybe just
it
not through buildings.
it sounds like you think you feel like it's a bigger picture thing, but I honestly, I think they've probably just not they've done it and then they've realized, oh, actually, this isn't quite right, so we might have to make some changes. I mean, they've done it with ships where
Yeah, yeah,
they've done
that's true.
designed ships and then they've changed the design of the ship because it's not functional in a certain way. So why would they not do that with the buildings as well? It's just, yeah, I think they're reacting more than anything else.
So in that case, are you worried that they might do it again?
Yeah, I mean yeah. It's a general it's a big concern of mine for Star Citizen in general is that they go in one direction and they change the direction and go in a different direction because they didn't foresee something or there's a reactionary situation going on. That I I think that's just a widespread concern I have with it. It seems to be a pattern. So yeah,
What kind
feeds
of
in.
if we were talking about mining with underground facilities, what's something that you would be more interested in seeing with these buildings in cities?
Um, I don't think it's really something that's overly exciting. I mean, if it leads into I think it's more likely to lead into the deliveries where you deliver things, and I just feel like I don't know if they're going to be designed for mining 100%. I think they're more designed
Yeah.
for cargo and storage and that area, to be honest. So I don't know if it's going to
Assassinations.
impact assassinations and hacking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like Siege of Orson kind of gave us a taste of where they're going with it, with the buildings going in there, fighting people in the buildings, and you got like bars and offices and stuff.
It's all about fighting.
There is a
PvP.
lot of combat. Do you think the game is too combat focused?
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. But I'm not. I know that's very controversial. It's a very controversial subject, and PvP is fine. It's part of the game loop. It makes me think as a miner, like, what do I need to do to protect myself, which is great. I have no problem with PvP, but I think it feels like a lot of CRG's decisions recently have been around PvP kind of related stuff. But I worry that they alienate the industrial people, the people that like prospector mining and spot mining, and not so much salvage because they've got it's a new exciting game loop. But I worry that will go the same way.
What do you think of the mining updates coming up?
Yeah, not okay. I mean,
Not
the
happy with them?
scanning, the changes where you have to use the V scan for rock mining. I get why they've done that, but it takes away some of the elements that I used to enjoy for rock mining, which was to fly low and hard in a ship, spin round 180 degrees when you get a hit, zoom right in on the node, see what it is, excitement. Now we're just hovering above, looking down, and just V-scanning every little thing. It's not exciting. It's not what it was.
You're saying they're making it so you can't detect the minerals with the regular ping anymore?
You can see them with the regular pings, but now I don't know whether they broke the field of view. I think they did in 318 patch, but I don't know whether that's been fixed or not, or whether that's part of the turnover. But now they're encouraging people to use the V-scan instead rather than the ping to kind of rock mine. And I don't know how I feel about that because I think it's a bit of it brings it in line with prospector mining to a degree, but yeah, it just slows the gameplay down. It's not as quick and exciting as it used to be.
I think I missed that. I didn't actually know they were updating anything with the rock mining.
Yeah, well, just purely the scanning, and obviously they brought some good stuff in alongside it, so it's not all doom and gloom. But the move all button, which we absolutely love the move all button.
Yeah, that was nice with the inventory stuff.
Yeah, that's a big win. And I don't have to use voice attack anymore, so that's good.
Do you feel like the mining updates, the missions they're bringing, and then like the salvage stuff, and the cargo refactor is that starting to dilute the gameplay more in a better direction, or is it still feel overwhelmingly like it's just combat additions on top of all that stuff?
No, I think it brings another layer, but there's a lot of focus on the combat, which I'm not so into. Although I have been getting more PvP orientated recently, but I feel like it's been forced upon me if I want to continue playing Star Citizen.
I'll tell you what,
But-
I do combat a lot, but I never touch PvP. I mean, I would be interested in it, and I think I'll probably do more of it in like Arena Commander and stuff. I just never end up in situations of PvP unless I'm doing like a dynamic event.
Yeah.
But combat's easy, so I guess it makes sense that they've kind of relied on it for so long.
Yeah. And it's very popular. People, it's ultimately is what is Star Citizen is kind of an MMO, isn't it, in a way? And you've got to have that PvP element in there, otherwise it's it's not. It's just part of the game. You have to have it there. As much. You just have to. If you're not a PvPer, then you have to take precautions and make sure that you're covered and you're doing all the right things to not get PvP'd. And if you do, then it's that's just part of it, isn't it?
Well, then you're a PvPer.
I tell you what, though, I will say, and this is a humble brag, I have killed a few people with a railgun. I don't know if they've boosted the railgun recently, but I should not be able to destroy a ship in space with a railgun while sat on the platforms of Korea from far away. And we had an 890 jump, and then we just sat by Korea. And this Gladius just came and hovered above it and was like shooting at it. And I pulled the railgun out, and they were so far away. And I shot the railgun, and it blew up. The Gladius. I'm like, that should not happen. Surely that shouldn't happen.
It's just a one shot blew it up?
One shot kill on a Gladius from like way over there in space.
Maybe they don't have shields
ridiculous. On. Oh, I have no idea. I have no idea why he blew up. Maybe he didn't have the shields on.
Interesting.
I streamed it. So I looked at the chat, and they were like, no one could believe it.
What?
That's not right. You shouldn't be able to do that. So I don't know what's happened with the railgun, but yeah, my tip: go and get a railgun. Always have a railgun on your back, especially if you're an industrialist, because those things are absolute beasts.
Oh my gosh! It's like, hey, you're going out fishing. Make sure to bring an RPG with you, just in case.
Pond up. Let all the fish float to the top.
I do feel like after with persistent entity streaming coming into focus, especially looking at the monthly reports, they're starting to look in other directions for gameplay. I think PES was a big roadblock for the folks who are designing these more industrial style gameplay. Just seeing the way they talk about how their options have kind of opened up, and hearing about how like salvage was basically impossible without that, the way that they wanted to do it. I am very hopeful that within the next year we'd start to see a big shift in gameplay. I mean, we're seeing engineering be talked about with the resource network and stuff. And I think they could probably work that into these locations too,
Yeah, the biggest thing that CIG can do at the moment is to improve their communication. And it's good to show ambition, but I think most people would be happy if I think CIG were more open and listen to people a little bit more. I know that's a bit of a criticism because they do a lot of great things and stuff, but a lot of people that I know that play Star Citizen are quite frustrated with the immediate future of the game, and they'll come back when 318 goes live, but I don't know if they'll stick around because it will be them. I'll come back when 319's live. I think there's a bit of a disconnect between the gaming base of Star Citizen and CIG right now. So I think they need to be focusing on that as well as what they're developing within the game itself.
Mm-hmm. You feel like they're focusing more on the game that's going to be made as opposed to the current game people are playing.
Yeah. There's a complete disconnect between that. They seem to be focusing so far on the future, and this is what's going to happen, and this is what's going to happen, that they're not really focusing on what's happening right now. Like, let's look at what's happening right now, and I appreciate this is going to age your video a little bit. Evergreen not, but the 318 patch has been an absolute disaster. It's been a disaster. Like the first one, 3181 was okay, it was good, because it had all that new stuff in it, which was all shiny and new. The second one was quite stable. Third and fourth versions were just, I mean, I
mean
think
like
they're bringing out,
you're
they're
talking about the
bringing patches
PTU
out
waves?
every day. Yeah, the PTU waves. I think they're just bringing out new updates and hot fixes every single day right now. It's just, I went on it yesterday. I did a 5-hour session on Star Citizen yesterday. The first 2 hours were probably the worst 2 hours I've ever experienced on the game. To the point where I was laughing so much. I can't explain to you what was going on, but it's montage footage style hilarity, like trains literally glitching onto the platforms, and I would just explode in the middle of space like 2 or 3 times, got stuck in my seat, got into an infinite loop between the 2 seats where it was like this. I couldn't get out. I accidentally self-destructed my vehicle trying to get out, blew a load of people up in the ship. Honestly, so many things happened. Every
Solid.
30 seconds, for 2.5 hours, I was going insane.
Solid session.
It was, and I've honestly never ever in a video game experienced that in my life. Even on Star Citizen, it was just crazy. So I don't know what's happening with 318.
But do you think, but that to you is telling you that they're focusing more on other stuff as opposed to 3.18?
I think so. Yeah, I think they're throwing a lot of resources further beyond. But maybe we just want to see stability. We just want to see stability. It's lovely bringing out new ships and focusing on we're going to bring this and we're going to do that and over promising certain things, which they have been guilty of doing in the past a lot. And they've got better at it, to be fair. They have got better at this with the adjustment of the roadmap and stuff like that, for example. But this over promising and under delivering thing, which is consistent with CIG, is definitely an issue, and it's alienating, I think, a lot of the player base. You've got a lot of the hardcore people that are like pro Star Citizen, which will fight tooth and nail that it's the greatest thing, and the potential is absolutely phenomenal. But they need the stability. Is we've got these things listed here that we're going to talk about, but the biggest thing here is stability. We've got to get stability down.
Well, I will definitely say it's not the best thing there is right now. I have a lot more fun playing other games, but it does make sense that the game isn't stable given they just dropped the biggest technological upgrade they have in 10 years, right?
Yes. However, why are people who are bought into this project, which is everybody that plays this game, why have you got such an alienated? Why have you got 2 sides fighting each other within the community? Some saying that it's a scam, and some saying that it's the greatest thing ever. How has that happened? Like, if it suggests they haven't rolled this situation out correctly, or they haven't communicated in some way, because there's a lot of angry people. There's a lot of people that are not playing Star Citizen right now.
Yeah.
And there's a reason for that. It's because they haven't been told, or they've been missold something, or something's gone wrong. Otherwise, we would all stick with the project. I know myself and you were sticking with the project, but there's a lot of people that aren't, and there's a reason for that. And the reason is because they've disconnected with their with their fan base, right? It's got to be the only reason.
I think it's a little more nuanced. I think there are people who are very interested in, like we were saying a little bit ago, people are very interested in the game they're playing right now. Like you said, CIG markets this as a playable experience. They do say that it's an alpha. They do say it's always changing and that it can be a rough experience, but they do market it as a playable experience. So I think there are people who latch onto that and expect it to always be a playable experience. I think there are also then a group of people who are looking at the stuff that's being added, whether that be persistent entity streaming or hull scraping or the cargo refactor or these other things that kind of come in and maybe they don't feel like a fully finished game, but they show sort of the direction of the game. I think there's a large amount of people who are looking at where the game is going and saying, hey, this is what we've been waiting for. Glad to see it in the future. And they'll see an addition like persistent entity streaming and say, this is going to be super big for us in a year, but right now it's kind of buggy. So I think you just get two different sides. Like some people are focusing on the game at hand. Some people are focusing on the game being made.
The people who see it as a project or the people who see it as a game, they're the two things. So the people who see it as a project are perhaps more forgiving of these things and understanding of what it actually is, which is maybe the side that I kind of sit on ish. I've slipped into the other side a little bit of late. And then you've got the people who pick the game, buy a ship and go, well, this isn't working. Why is this not working? What's all these bugs? Blah, blah, blah. Oh, well, that's it. I'm uninstalling it. I'm getting my money. I'm getting a refund. And then complain about it on Reddit.
Those are the people I try and make videos for.
Really?
I'll try and make a video and be like, hey, this is going to suck, but also it's really cool.
Yeah.
Like I'm writing
it is really cool. It is really cool. And the potential, and we talk about this potential thing, it's huge. It's massive. There's nothing like it.
Yeah.
But with the smooth and all that malarkey. But I don't like it when they change, when they do things that they don't need to do. And they seemingly, or I mean, I don't know. I don't work for CIG and I don't know their processes. And I assume that sometimes they fix something over here and it breaks something over here. And that's understandable. But to make decisions that are seemingly somebody's made a decision on, like changing the way you scan, and I don't know if that's fed into something to do with salvage because it's happened as salvage has happened. But yeah, it kind of alienates people because you're like, well, why have you done that? And why haven't you communicated that? You know what? You know, that's my thought on it. Sometimes their communication is off and it's not great, and actually. From my experience on Spectrum, my experience of Spectrum is not great.
Spectrum, I mean,
and I feel like the people that are managing Spectrum sometimes can be slightly, and I get it, I understand why, but can be slightly trigger happy, shall we say?
Spectrum is
it's something.
That's a place.
Yeah,
I'll say that much.
It's a place to go for giggles.
I think,
but it doesn't demonstrate that there's a problem there though with the fan base.
I think it demonstrates that open development is freaking hard. I think CIG makes a lot of mistakes, but I also think that we as a community are so hyper focused on everything that it makes those mistakes a lot worse, and that leads to both people arguing more and also CIG and the people who work there possibly being a little bit more defensive. You know, not to say it's any blame one way or another. I just think this is part of the process of trying to do open development. I see it sometimes with games like Satisfactory. They had to put a huge video out where they talked about why they can't fix the glitches that people keep asking them to fix because it's just not worth it for the game at the moment. And I've seen it for Universe Sim, which is another early access game I tried. It just seems like it's part of the problem with open development, and it's really easy to make mistakes when you're trying to tell people what you're doing for the game without sounding unsure, because it does feel like when you're making these games you don't necessarily know what solution is going to work for the problem you have. You just kind of have to keep trying them,
which feeds back into what I was saying earlier, which I think they're being reactive in the way they're developing the game. But ahead of anything else.
But that is also then good, considering you are saying that they need to start listening to the community more.
I think so. Yeah, I think so.
I think a good example of that. Well, actually, let me start by saying I think we should be halfway in between those two parties, right? We should be thinking about the project that's coming, but also obviously we need to consider how much fun the game is, how good the game is to play right now. And I think a good example of that is Soft Death, because Soft Death is definitely not part of the design of the game. It is a temporary holdover that they programmed and built custom so that we can experience what it's like to get blown up without actually dying. Because in the future, we're not going to have soft death. We're just going to have physical armor. So I think it does show that they are trying to make the game at the moment more fun and more complete, even if it means at the expense of development time.
Yeah. I mean, I think you might be, I mean, that's got to be their ambition, isn't it? To basically make the game as fun as it can be and keep the player base happy. Then there's examples of that. I just feel that at the moment that there's a definite disconnect. I appreciate we're coming off topic a little bit on this, but but it is a big deal. It's a big talking point, and I think, you know, maybe they need to kind of, I don't know. I don't know what the solution is. I'm not a developer myself.
Yeah, neither do I.
I
It's
don't know. But all
very
I know is that if you go onto Google Trends, for example, and you look up Star Citizen and you look up Google Trends in the last 5 years, we had that peak in the middle of 2022 because they were doing some great stuff with 317 and stuff. I thought it was brilliant.
Mhm.
But ever since kind of, I would say probably since end of the year, I think we've definitely seen a downward trajectory on this game.
Oh yeah,
And
absolutely. The wait for 318 is
you
it's
know,
rough.
yeah, and 318 has got bad rep. Although it's brought some great things, it's undeserved. It's brought some really cool things. So it's kind of I'm mixed on it.
Yeah. I
So
personally think this is one of those times we're gonna look back at and people are gonna realize it wasn't as big a deal as it was. I think part of the reason that 318 is grinding people the wrong way is because it was revealed a while ago. The features don't feel as new and fresh, and everybody's still playing on broken 317. But in the reality of it, I think it makes sense that they didn't force us into 318 when they could have for marketing purposes, and instead let both versions of the game live, so that people who didn't want to deal with the 318 stuff still got to play in the equally as broken 317.
yeah, I see 317 as nostalgia when I go rock mining because it's the old way of doing it. So if I want to do rock mining, I'll go 317
I got you.
nostalgia, and then 318 is just like the new world for me.
Let's talk about the last location that they've been working heavily on, the upgraded outposts, which in my opinion aren't outposts, they look like towns at this point. But also can offer, I think, some of the same kind of gameplay as underground facilities. We've been following these towns for a while, these outposts. What do you think of them compared to what we have right now in Stanton?
I mean, they're the future, aren't they? They the variations into the different systems. I think this is where they're going to go with it. I like them. I really like the idea of ruins, stuff like that as well, though. And I want to see more ruins. I want to see more ancient stuff. You know, I want to see like shrines and stuff like that kicking in. So I'd love to see more of that. But obviously for missions and contracts and stuff like that, I think they're pretty cool. And the outposts themselves, these kind of mini city. They're not really cities. They're kind of like mini hubs, mini towns.
I mean, depending on where you live, they're
depending on where
city-sized.
you live.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm kind of hoping you're going to get like exclusive things there. So like maybe there'll be places where you can buy and sell really unique things that you can't find anywhere else. And I like the idea of like a marketplace and where you can buy and sell. But I like the idea of unique missions. Probably unique bounties and stuff like that, but they're really cool. I like them. I do. Any variation on the game is a good thing.
Yeah. Yeah. I would love for the ruins, like you said, for them to start adding more narrative items, like things you can find and maybe data pads or something that you can read and learn more about the area.
The history.
Yeah.
Talk more about the history and the find ancient kind of artifacts and dare I say treasure hunts. I want treasure hunts in Star Citizen.
Absolutely.
How cool would that be? You can get yourself a shovel, right? But go buy yourself a shovel at a refinery. I don't know.
Laser shovel.
Laser shovel. And then Star Citizen random events they can just drop in every now and then. Guys, we've heard about this. There's this thing over here somewhere in this ruin. Go find it.
Yeah.
Everybody just goes
cool.
Vroom, with a shovel to try and find this unique item.
How cool would that be? It would give a sense of history too, because it's like you get dropped into this system with 4 planets, 12 moons, dozens of space stations, thousands of people, and all this corporatocracy going on, and you have no context. Like nobody's explaining why Ninetales is killing people. Nobody's explaining why Hurston's not selling weapons. Like it'd be nice to discover these things that tell you more about this.
And also have a mission in a forest or something like that. We don't have enough natural kind of environments where we can go and do missions. It's always bunkers or it's like out in space bounty hunting or whatever.
The way you said that, it's the bunkers.
Stupid bunkers.
Yeah, the towns
But
are
I know.
very cool. I hope that we can see. They'd probably have to do something to justify this, but I would really like to see outposts, or as we're calling them, villages, that are like much closer together. 50 kilometers, 100 kilometers, and I would love to get like convoy missions in between there, where it's like, oh, you can protect or destroy a convoy going in between these two towns.
Oh,
That
nice, yeah.
Yeah, that kind of stuff feels like low hanging fruit in
Or
terms
be the
of.
convoy security.
Yeah, yeah,
That'd be awesome.
exactly.
You sat on the convoy, like,
You run the turret while an
with a
NPC
gun.
drives to
Yeah.
the other city, and your whole thing is just to keep it safe.
Yeah. And like it goes up as a bounty mission or something, like people can come and attack you, or
Yeah,
NPCs can attack you, and you're just
yeah.
right, bring it on, shoot up to the skies.
I
Or rail guns. Oh my goodness.
Railgun some
That'd be
Gladius.
awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, I think these towns could offer. Again, I mean, it's just like the underground facilities, just another area archetype for you to go and meet mission givers and find interesting items and like maybe buy something that you can't buy at other locations.
Right.
There's so much potential, and I know that's kind of the theme for Star Citizen is potential, but you can see that the locations teams are really doing their job. I can't wait to see what the props, narrative, and sandbox teams do to kind of fill in all of that with some other stuff.
Let's talk about the artistic stuff, because the locations are absolutely stunning.
Oh yeah,
Like there's a cracking job on those. They look amazing.
yeah.
So
They
like,
I think everybody can agree that's like the one thing that Star Citizen always kind of nails is their artists, the graphics themselves are
visuals, the
great.
vibe, the
Yeah.
environments, the sense of being out in the middle of nowhere.
Have you ever
Is
gotten Sorry, go ahead.
no, you were going to say something way more interesting than me.
Don't sell yourself short, sir. Have you ever heard the statement Star Citizen is going to be outdated in graphics
Yes,
before it ends up being fun?
they're going to have to switch to a new Unity engine.
Don't say that. Do you think that's true?
Yeah. Oh
You think
no,
that
no, I don't think. Well, the only time games get, I mean, there's examples of games in the 90s that still look good, but that's because their graphics are kind of done in an artistic way. I don't think that's Star Citizen. But
well,
there's
how about this? Take was it Red Dead Redemption 2? When did that come out?
5 years ago,
And how would you say it compares to AAA games coming out now graphically?
still on par.
So
Still on par.
it does feel like, honestly, in terms of photorealism, graphics aren't really changing that much. It feels more like it's the details, like lighting and stuff. And from what we've seen, it seems like the engine team can keep updating lighting year after year if they need to.
I mean, if you're going to say, is Star Citizen going to become graphically outdated anytime soon? And the answer is absolutely not. Absolutely not. But at some point, all games, unless you
Yeah,
can keep developing, at some point, and you're going to get to a stage, aren't you, where the graphics need to jump to another level. But
right.
it's not going to happen anytime soon. I can't see Star Citizen being laughed at for its graphics
Do
anytime soon.
I haven't played any MMOs. I know MMOs last a really long time. I haven't kept up with any of them, but like World of Warcraft or EVE Online, stuff like that, do they still hold their own graphically, or are they pretty outdated looking at this point?
Eve does, but that's because it's had lots of different mini updates over the years, I suppose. World of Warcraft looks old, but that's built around a community, and it's really nailed its missions and its quests and stuff like that. So there's thousands of things to do. I don't really play World of War. I used to, but I don't now. But I know a lot of people that still play it, and
Yeah.
it's the content. It's what you can do within the game, and that is actually something that's a bit dangerous for Star Citizen right now, because some may argue that there's not that level of content in the game right now.
Oh, absolutely not.
And that's the risk. So if they do want to become World of Warcraft 2.0,
Oh
if
my
they do want to
gosh.
do that, we need to get to a stage where we've got a lot to do within the game, because
Right.
that's what will keep the game going for many years.
Hmm.
It's not what it looks like; it's how it plays. And at the
not-
moment, it falls short
It's
slightly.
not what it looks like, but I will say this. if for some weird, crazy reason the content doesn't actually come, I think we're already starting to see it come in higher doses. But if it doesn't, it would be nice to still have a nice, pretty game to look at. Like at the
For
very end
sure,
of the
yeah.
day, I'd love to be able to get in a spaceship and go look at planets and be like, okay, this still looks good.
But ultimately, as well, there's a huge selection of people that make their own gameplay loops, like
Yeah.
the role play, or I mean, you just have to look at Citizen Kate and these people. They make their own gameplay. They don't need people to make the gameplay for them.
Yeah.
To set the missions, and there is a vast majority, a lot of people in Star Citizen that do that for themselves.
Yeah.
And
It's a
so
sandbox
I think,
game.
you know, just for that, if you can get more people in that are of that mindset, then the game will be just fine.
Yeah.
Just fine.
Um,
And you'll get rid of the instant, you know, the low level gamers who are people who want things immediately and get bored easily and, you know, go to
well, that's what the
Netflix.
building interiors are for, right? The people who need a mission in the city to do right now. I need to go into a building and shoot someone, or else this game's not fun. Just be like, okay,
Yeah.
go
And
down
to
that
be
street.
fair, it takes an hour to do anything. It took me 2 hours yesterday to do anything. So
Yeah, that's what I mean.
I
So
get it. I get why people will be critical.
they start
Critical of that.
they start building out the cities with this stuff. Then it won't take an hour. Take 10 minutes to get there. It's kind of like how the Siege of Orson, or not Siege of Orson, the new Orson missions in 318 are. You literally just walk to the next building, take a tram, and you're in a mission. So I think if they can keep on building stuff like that, at least for people who need that instant gratification, something will be there.
Yeah, but it's the don't forget the industrialist players, because they are the people that will stick around through thick and thin, and they're the people who will make their own game loops, and they're the people that are, you know, from my experience, the people that will support the project for the long term.
Pirates need targets.
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
Okay. Last couple of questions I wanted to ask you about this.
I got a question.
Okay. Yes. Hit me.
Where did you get your T-shirt from?
Fourth Wall.
And is it available on your merch store?
It is indeed. Along with some fantastic socks. I can shoot you the link for it after this. Yeah. But yeah, we've got a couple different pieces. We've been slowly starting to build out our collection. We got some socks and mugs and stickers and stuff, and we want to do something fun in the future. But you know, what we've discovered, you really gotta have a lot of scale to get deeper into like merch and interesting items, because otherwise it's just expensive.
Yeah. Scale as in have a warehouse maybe in an underground facility to store all your merch. Maybe that's what it is.
32 SU boxes.
That's where it's going.
Maybe
you could do you know what? I remember the day where you had games like Second Life, where there was a lot of corporate interest in selling stuff through the games.
Mm-hmm.
So there was like marketplaces and stuff like that where you actually sold your merchandise through the game, which was really cool.
Oh, that's interesting.
Do you reckon that's going to come into Star Citizen at some point, where you get like them trying to sell things through the game?
Honestly, I think the less they do that, the better.
Yeah, I agree.
People have floated the idea that like a way they could make money is offer real companies advertising space in game.
Yeah,
and
I think all the billboards.
Yeah, I wouldn't like that. I think what I would like is if they, I would like it if instead of just throwing, like, let's say Coca-Cola wanted to do advertising in there, instead of just throwing a Coca-Cola ad on there, like, develop an in-fiction brand that represented them. You know, same colors, kind of the same iconography, really close, do a little partnership with Coke, and then put that in the game. I think that would be cool, but that's a lot of work.
That's obviously going to be that brand, but is slightly twisted to be in the world of Star Citizen.
Yeah.
Like you're not breaking the fourth wall by doing, look at this amazing, immersive, futuristic thing. And by the way, here's a current product that you can buy from all shops in real life.
Like, honestly, they could literally put a model of the mobiGlas that, like, just change it so that it looks like Apple, right? It's Microtech is very similar to Apple. Like, switch it up a little bit, let them do their advertising, whatever.
Yeah, no, totally. Yeah. And you can customize accordingly. And then I think, do you reckon they'll have an internal internet where you go onto your console and you can actually expand the console a little bit more? So you've got like almost an internal internet within the game.
That's kind of like what Spectrum is supposed to be. Because Spectrum's supposed to be in game. It's on the website right now, but it's supposed to be in game where you
Oh, I
get
didn't
like
know that.
news feeds. You're supposed to be able to view documentaries. You're supposed to be able to talk to people,
Oh,
like all that stuff. So
I
kind of
didn't know
like
that.
that. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's not.
Not yet. No. It, of course. And that's how things are. That's one of my main caveats with the game. You have to go through the website to do so many things that should be in the game, but
Mm.
you know, it's alpha. Okay, last question. We've talked about these on the ground locations, building interiors, underground facilities, expanded outposts. Do you think that they're doing a lot of ground-based gameplay that kind of you would rather see them do with space-based locations?
You see, a lot of my stuff that I really enjoy is ground based.
Okay, you're
So
biased.
because of the atmosphere, yeah. So I'm going to
Yeah.
be completely biased in my response to that, and I think people may disagree with me. So I'm going to say I'd like to see more ground based stuff.
Oh,
But
he wants to double down.
yeah, yeah. However, I appreciate that it's a space game, as people say to me all the
Forgot
time.
about that.
It's a space game that should be in space. But I disagree. I think a good mixture of everything is the best medicine.
Yeah, so do I.
But give us more ground missions. Give us mining rock grey cat rock missions, please.
A good
Thanks.
mixture of everything, meaning 80% ground-based, please.
Yeah, yeah.
I
Well, how about this? What's something that makes something that's so remote that you need a ship to get to, but you can't get close to because of security? No, I know it sounds like bunkers, but you have to land the ship in close proximity to the area, and then you have to drive ground vehicles to get to. But then you have someone on the back with a gun defending while you drive like a jeep, like a jeep style car, like a fancy, like steroided PTV.
yeah,
You know,
like the Cyclone TR.
right?
Yeah.
But something wacky and crazy, like a big beastie thing that you can get like 5 or 6 people on with multiple guns.
Yeah.
You know. Do you remember the A Team? Right, the A Team had military vehicles like Land Rovers with multiple guns on the back, and they used to always flip over and crash in the opening sequence or whatever. But they had those guns, and you had 2 people with the guns, and they were fun. You get 2 people on the back of a jeep shooting while another person drives, and you've got a passenger seat who's just looking at the view or whatever. But that would be fun. Go somewhere where you have to drive a vehicle into an open location, like a scrapyard, which we already have a scrapyard, and then have like NPCs shooting at you, but you can stay in the vehicle and shoot or ground vehicle combat, car chase. I want to see a car chase.
Honestly, this sounds like the kind of stuff they could package with these outposts. Just have
Yeah.
hostile outposts that you have to drive
Hostile
into.
outpost.
Yeah.
People in like tank warfare. Why have we got tanks right now? Tank warfare. Let's get tanks
Because they're
involved.
fun.
Yeah, but let's get more tanks. And let's bring World of Tanks into Star Citizen.
Oh
World
my
of
gosh.
Star Citizen.
Oh,
Let's
boy.
do it.
Oh, you're going to get this podcast canceled.
Oh no.
You're
I don't want
combining
tanks.
two very, very excited communities with that kind of a theory.
Yeah. Well,
But-
I'm allowed to do that because I cover World of Tanks.
And how is that in comparison?
Frustrating, incredibly frustrating at times, especially when you're not very good at it. But huge learning curve. Hello, Star Citizen, with your combat. But yeah, no, I think they need to do more of that sort of stuff. You know, and this is speaking as a person that doesn't do PvP. I kind of enjoy it.
Mhm.
Kind of enjoy those tank battles. You see orgs do it all the time. They'll try and it's hard to organize anything in Star Citizen, but
Yeah.
you'll get like 4v4 tanks, and then they blow up, and then you run out of undersuits where you spawn on the Carrack and you can't go anywhere, and
Yeah,
that's the end of the game.
that's when it starts to get complicated. Yeah.
You have to take like 1,000 undersuits. Well, I'm going to have a complaint now. Why do you spawn without an undersuit? Like, I get you in your medical gown, but what if you're on a Carrack or an 890 jump and you spawn, you're in your medical gown, you can't get out the ship, you're stuck in it.
I mean, that's kind of an exploit if you can, right? You just keep dying and spawning undersuits.
Yes, I didn't think of that. But then maybe it should just, if they're special undersuits that have a limited shelf life, or they phase out if you don't use them or something. They
Toilet
don't have
paper
to be-
undersuits.
Yeah, they don't have to be beacon suits, or they could at least just be medical gowns that you can put some kind of a mask on, oxygen mask or something, so you can at least go outside to get out somewhere to, like, get in another ship or something. Enough for that, not enough to last. Maybe they have a limited oxygen supply.
I think the big problem there is just that we haven't had a way to persistently keep things on ships. Like once we have persistent entity streaming and lockers and we can start to have 10 undersuits on our Carrack, it'd make a little bit more sense at least.
Yeah. Yeah. And
But
I'd
I
like
do,
to, I'd
I
like
get
to
what you
see
mean.
more facility. I'd like to see like a shed. The 2 SCU boxes I need to bring into the game. You know.
The other thing is like if you're doing an event like that where you have to spawn in tanks, then you're probably next to an outpost. And like the worst part is just that the outposts don't have shops. So I think if they could get these new outposts in and you have a place where you could just buy an undersuit when you get there, that would be better.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so. But the amount of times that we've done like an event and we've had to think ahead and gone, okay, well, we need a Carrack so we can respawn at the event.
Yeah.
But also we have to think about getting multiple, all of the different gears so that you're set to go back into whatever event it is. But sometimes it just fails and you end up just. And actually, lately I've noticed that you end up not spawning on the ship at all. You end up back in New Babbage or something, even though I set to area 18.
Really? 317?
Yeah. Mm.
That's a bummer.
Mm.
Yeah, I've run into a couple of those issues.
So it makes eventing hard.
Yeah, it does. It does. I think these bigger, more substantial locations are going to start to flesh out our facilities and kind of decentralize us from not just spawning at the same space station all the time, because they have talked about also having habs in the derelict outposts, which I imagine if there are like beds and habs in the derelict outposts, then maybe we can expect regeneration beds in UGFs or the actual outposts. But we'll have to see what they do there, because it would be very nice if you could just die and spawn at the nearest village.
It'd be amazing if you could die and spawn at a village.
Yeah.
Yeah, instead of a ridiculous space station or a planet.
Yeah, what is this? A space sim or something?
Yeah,
I'm trying to spawn in space.
There they do space stuff in a space sim. Who do they think
I'm going to have to call this episode like Take
Random.
the star out of Star Citizen.
Yeah.
Call it Land Citizen.
Literally. Citizen. That's it. That'd be awesome.
I think, I hope, I guess, that we can hear more about that this year. But Starrstreams, that about wraps up everything that I had to ask today. I think this was a really good talk, a good look into these new locations. There are some pretty significant changes, I think, coming to the game based on what we're seeing from these underground facilities and building interiors. I think the outposts are kind of an upgrade, but these other two feel like a real step in a different direction in terms of how they want these locations to work. So thank you for joining me and talking about them for a bit, sharing your thoughts. Before we go, would like to give you a chance to ask any questions you want. And if you have none, then also to just let people know where they can find your own content.
Oh, well, I am Starrstreams. And so it's youtube.com/Starrstreams, 2 R's, by the way, as in Ringo Starr. See what I did there?
On the screen there?
So, on the screen there, right there somewhere. And so basically I cover a lot of Star Citizen stuff. I do a lot of live streaming, community stuff, just hanging out, doing silly things, a lot of mining and stuff like that. And then I do a bit of variety as well around. I'm not 100% Star Citizen, but I do sort of other games as well that I enjoy, and I often sort of collaborate with other people as well. So it's pretty cool. It's fun.
Cool. Well, thank you. Thank you again for joining me. It's been a great talk and a good chance to catch up. I always appreciate when we get to talk.
Me too. It's fun, isn't it? It's a giggle.
It's good times. And for anybody who, well, I guess actually this will be coming out afterwards, but we will be doing some GeoGuessr later this weekend. So looking forward to that.
It's gonna be fun.
But I'd like to thank everybody who came to listen or watch on YouTube if you are. If you don't like the ads, the audio platform does have no ads, and it is supported by our supporters who are able to come in and watch this live, ask questions, and talk to the guests. So thank you, everybody who is tuning in. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Hope you got some brain fuzz going, got to think about your own ideas. Feel free to post them down below. We'll try to check them out and read what you have to say. But other than that, this has been The Launch Sequence. I've been your host, Space Tomato. Lovely guest Starrstreams joining me today. And I will see you all next week. Bye.